Hello everyone, how's it going? Welcome back to Let's Play Darksiders. Today is a very exciting day because we are en route to our very first dungeon of the game. That dungeon being the Cauldron for the Heart of the Mountain side quest. Side quest? No! No. This is the main quest. We just have to knock out a couple of things along the way, like this very conspicuous chest up here on the side of the hill. Guarded by a lone construct, just trying to do his job. Before, I talked about why you get despair from the onset of the game. But one of the coolest things I learned about despair is that, oh, this is a shame it didn't make it into the game. He was going to be a skeletal horse. Which, of course, automatically makes him much cooler. He was going to be a dry bones horse. Covered in swirling shadows. And that would be what you would see when the horse was at a standstill, but as you moved around on Despair, and you gained momentum and he galloped along, the shadows were gonna not be able to keep up. They would trail behind him and reveal the skeleton. And he was gonna leave bones scattered all over as you ride, like debris of bones. Instead, what we got is a pale and teal version of the Darksiders 1 Abyssal horses, which still looks really nice. Like, the glowing teal is a nice accent.
No place for a horse.
It is no place for a horse. It's not nearly as dramatic, though, and there are going to be some fun spots where it will definitely be no place for a horse. Darksiders 2 is a tiny bit broken. Oh, we'll get into that though. No sense completely breaking the game from episode 3 though. This is a place for a horse. Shut up. This is definitely a place for a horse. The meteors that are crashing down all around us, or are they fireballs? Licks of flame from the mountain's core. They cannot randomly strike you and harm you. It'd be kind of annoying if you would randomly just get knocked off your horse and eat a bit of damage from random environmental hazards. This over here, I believe we've heard his name before. First time seeing him though, he is the worst of the mythical Scots. That's Karn. Once we're done saving him for what will be one of many times, we will have a conversation with him. Oh, by the way, if you didn't know, the X button move we have, the teleport slash, that is not only really good for mobility, not only does great damage, it also heals you for a percentage of the damage that it deals. I think the base amount is about 10%, and it goes up a few ticks every level you put into it.
The tales be true. A rider has come to the realm.
Not another one.
You're the Nephilim, the one they call Death. How did you get here?
Took a wrong turn. It appears I'm stranded here with the rest of you.
If you seek the Cauldron, you should know that it fell to corruption fair long ago. I can still feel the fire itself rumbling deep in the earth.
I'll take my chances. Your shaman has offered me a talisman if I bring her the materials.
You'd be wise to accept then. Her craft is mighty powerful.
Where do I find Stalker's bone?
You'll find stalkers prowling the Cauldron. Should be simple work if your name is any indication. Say, if you're headed in there, you mind doing something for me?
Yes, I mind. Aren't I doing enough already?
Perhaps. Though it seems to me you're doing right enough for yourself. Our benefit being a fortunate side effect. Well, if it ain't much trouble, I left an old metal platter in there, with the image of 2 hammers scribed in the center. Not much to look at, but it was my journeyman piece. Last thing I ever forged.
A dish? You want me to bring you a dish?
Yes, well, it has sentimental value. If you find it, I'll make it worth your while.
No different than the others. Less pleasant on the eyes, for one.
I could say no less for you. Folks around town call me Pup or Lad, but I prefer my own name. Karn.
Pup it is, then.
As you will. Matters not to me.
Why not restore the fire yourself?
I came here just for that purpose. Figured I'd pop the cork, so to speak. Be the hero. But the cauldron is locked up well and tight, and the way through was swallowed by fire. You look capable enough. Perhaps you can find a way. I'll wait here and guard the entrance.
I've got a really big thing for Karn. It's fucking weird. I just want to touch him. I just want to be with him. I keep worrying that the leather seat's not real enough. I love Death. I really do like Death. He's got like a real dry bite that isn't smarmy like Nathan Drake. Like, he's not that kind of wisecracking protagonist. But he's also much more expressive and conversational than his brother War. While still having a kind of similar smoldering, threatening demeanor. But he's a little bit playful with it. Like, he's a little bit sarcastic. Plus, excellent voice casting as always. One of the strongest suits of the Darksiders series has been the voice casting. They've done such a good job with every character. And even for the commonly go-to used voice actors, you know, your Phil Lamar's, your Liam O'Brien's, your Nolan North's, you know, the staples of the video game voice acting industry. The voice direction in Darksiders is typically really good, and the casting. Like, it's not just about getting the usual suspects, but like making them work, like making them discernible from every other role they do.
Not enough,
I think they do that really good. And I think they choose the right roles for them. Like, Liam O'Brien does the Liam O'Brien voice for War in Darksiders 1, but it's a really appropriate character to have the Liam O'Brien voice. And Mark Hamill does Mark Hamill's Joker for The Watcher, but they make that work with the direction. So that it isn't just the actual Joker. I think it's not just the voice acting quality in the games, but it's also the casting and the direction's pretty high quality. So we're going to skitter around. The very early portions of this dungeon are going to be lots of traversal, which is nice. Death is spry as always. It's not quite as clunky, cumbersome as his brother War. And for a first dungeon, the Cauldron is alright. There are quite a few more dungeons than Darksiders 1, so they can have more of a curve to their complexity. And the fact that there are more dungeons in this one is both a blessing and a curse. Darksiders 2 is much bigger than than Darksiders 1 was. There's more variety. It's longer, but it also sort of drags its feet in places because of that. And there is a formula that rears its head a little bit later on that can get really tiresome. Still, the first two dungeons are tight enough. They don't really succumb to that particular pitfall. The Cauldron, I think, is lacking for a memorable boss, but we'll get to that. It has its moments, though, and I like the locale well enough. It's also very similar to the very first dungeon that you do in Darksiders 1, Tiamat's dungeon, except without a Tiamat. The flow is good. Whoa, whoops, not quite. These are upgraded versions of the constructs from earlier. And there's actually, once we clear these out, I think there's a decent puzzle in this room. Or is this the room coming up? Yeah, I think it's the room coming up I'm thinking of. This might just be a combat arena. Oh, on the subject of the boss, something that I liked from Darksiders 1 that I don't know if I put enough emphasis on is I liked how they laid the roadmap out in front of you in that game. And you built to things, so nothing ever just felt random or unearned. You know about Tiamat and Griever and Stygian and all of the main dungeon bosses ahead of time. They're set up for you. They're built up. There's a sense of anticipation. You need to go through those roadblocks en route to the final goal, and you know what that final goal is. It's really clear for you. Darksiders... Ooh, I'm definitely going in. Darksiders 2 just kind of gives you a very vague motivation and goal. And then it spends a lot of time just kind of yanking you in different directions. So it gives this sense of feeling, I don't know, contrived at times. But this is all getting into pacing, which it might not be the most appropriate time to talk about pacing, considering where we are in the game so early. But it is more like a heads up. So these chests return from Darksiders Uno. That's our dungeon map. This dungeon is not nearly complex enough to warrant a glance at the dungeon map. The compass, you will have noticed from the very onset of the game, is not necessary. You start with, what was it called? The Loot Hoarder? No, that's a card from Hearthstone. Treasure Seeker? Treasure Hoarder? Something like that? You have a compass built in to death, so you don't need to pick that up. We do have the dungeon maps, though. They will become way, way more handy as the dungeons grow in complexity. This one's very simple, though. It's mostly linear, with a singular shortcut. This is our first fight against a stalker. This is a model that they... I can't remember if they just straight up ripped it from Darksiders 1 or if it's slightly modified from those enemies. But it fights like they animated it differently than the Darksiders 1 thing that this is based off of. Also, I'm not sure if those constructs can ever beat that stalker. I don't think they stand a single chance. Whew, that was very nice. Get that air combo going. Yeah. Oh, we got our level up. I think we will spend those skill points once we have a few more. Really, there are a couple of early abilities I can't wait to mess with, especially in concert with one another. Whew, that's pretty nice. Not my favorite version of the axe, but still. So now that we have the key, we're going to backtrack this way. And if you remember, through here, through the door right across from us, there was a locked door. This is our first dungeon key. And despite the name, I know it was called a skeleton key. It's not a universal dungeon key. I'm not sure what just slammed in the room to the right. Was that the door shutting behind me? Holy shit, that was like an explosion in my ear. Here's our introduction to this mechanic. So this... Oh, this rolling animation never looks good. God, it has not aged well, and it didn't look good to start. But these magical spheres, they have a home. We put them in their home, and usually something good will happen. Really, really simple. Take on a block puzzle, except not a blockable. Hey, that was kind of worth it. Believe you can get up into the statue's hands. Oh, I'm not having success, so I'm not going to spend too much time doing that. Ooh! Plus, it's easier to get this token by just jumping off the wall. So if you're unfamiliar with the sensibilities of Darksiders, think Zelda in terms of dungeon design and quest progress. The comparison to Zelda... Oh, this is a nice vista when we finally get outside of the balcony, up to the volcano. The comparison to Zelda was a very, very popular one when Darksiders first came out. and it is absolutely warranted. Darksiders is the best Zelda game that has come out since Twilight Princess. Yeah, I'm still not sure how I feel about Breath of the Wild overall. It feels like another Silent Hill 4 for me, personally, where there's so much that I want to love buried under layers of mud. But yeah, this is not Breath of the Wild. I do think comparisons to Zelda are fair and they are unavoidable. To reiterate my stance from Darksiders 1 from that LP, I do not think it's fair to call it a ripoff. It's definitely derivative. Because as much inspiration and style as it borrows from Zelda's formula, it clearly does its own things. And it brings in other elements to coalesce with all of its different inspirations into something that's completely new, completely its own. And it walks its own path, especially here in Darksiders 2, where they kind of get to branch out and go even further in their own direction. And, of course, being derivative isn't necessarily a bad thing, especially when you're doing a really good take on a winning formula, which is what Darksiders essentially does at its core. It's a really good take on the things that it's inspired by. Woo! I think we traded there at the end. This, now that we know about the ball mechanic, and this returning mechanic from Darksiders 1 of the bomb plants from Zelda. Unavoidable comparisons, like I said. Now that we know to do this, they can play with this a little bit more. And we'll see this returning for many, many dungeons to come. First, we're going to roll this over here to open up... Whoops! We're in its home. To open up this gate, where behind it lies another ball and another Book of the Dead page. There are 3 holes in this room, or 3 divots in the floor, and 2 balls. So this is more complex than not complex at all, but it's... they're starting to do more things and show you more of their hand. They're also introducing this, which is using the bombs to dislodge the orbs. Because you can't just pull them out of their grooves in the floor manually. So that's... they're still kind of tutorializing you and teaching you how these things work together. And then we're just going to put the other one in the other divot and be on our way with our key. Now note, there are some chests that look similar to that important one over there. They are slightly different, and they have a different opening animation, where I think they get... No, I thought it was the ripping apart animation. I don't know. Some chests that look similar to that, though, they will not contain an important dungeon-related item, but instead they'll contain just higher-level loot, or better quality loot. I'm gonna do my best to ignore y'all. I don't need any of that bullshit. Oh no, wait. I'm gonna have to... Nope. Still haven't gotten... I did get one better scythe, but I haven't gotten very much in terms of drops. Ooh, mace. We can check that out. There are quite a few different sub-weapons. It's nice. Plus, all of the sub-weapons have crossover attacks with your scythes. And they all have unique properties. The mace is, much like the hammer or the axe, a slow-moving, heavy-hitting weapon. Yeah, I think I'm on the same page as folks. The folks from the now-defunct Vigil, who only get bothered when people outright dismiss Darksiders 2 for being derivative. This being that team's second outing with this established world that they got to create with Darksiders 1, Darksiders 2 makes itself even more distinct, branches out on its own a bit more. The core dungeon design is very similar here, but it's not quite the same. Here in the Cauldron, for example, the formula is less about being railroaded to a dungeon item and then working back to use that item to explore the rest of the dungeon that was unavailable the first time through. Instead, the Cauldron will reintroduce some stuff from Darksiders 1, like the Shadow Bombs, get us more comfortable with our starting mechanics and basic combat as it's been doing, introduce some new enemies and mechanics, and hone your skills with that stuff. And then, after we're done the dungeon, we will get a new item that's going to be necessary for the second dungeon. So it's more of a reward and gating mechanic. There we go. Oh, God, I hate that that jump is blind. And with that, we are pretty sure we're just about done with the dungeon. This is not very long. I think, what is it, about twice as many main dungeons in Darksiders 2, plus a couple of optional ones like the Weeping Crag. There are mini dungeons. I think there are also some DLC ones that are not entirely insubstantial. For some reason, I was curious about why dust was perched out there. So we're going to take this bomb. Remember, there was some of the glowing yellow crystals down below. Gonna blow that up with a bomb that we got up here. Oh, that carried me too far forward. Where does this put me? Back up on the second floor? Yeah. I believe that reveals a chest and or a Book of the Dead page. Ah, yeah, loot chests. These are the kinds I was talking about. So, yeah, you can see their designs are similar, and the opening animation is even a little bit differently executed. Oh. Yeah, it is more of a ripping apart than the other one. Oh, I should have done this in a different order. You can't hit me while I'm doing this. Ah, fuck off. You too. Oh no, why are you doing this? No, no. Oh, that's hot. That's lava. That's bad. It's a bad place to be. There is a glitch that I could have done pretty easily. An infinite jump glitch, but by the time I made it back up to land, the timer would have reset anyway. So I'm just going to wait it out for a second and smash that dude. There we go. Sometimes death does not want to obey where the analog stick is pointing. If you're a little bit off, there's kind of a dead zone. So we have to make this kind of uncomfortable looking blind jump again. They railroad you so hard that it's not really like a danger of failing, but it just looks uncomfortable. Oh no! Why? Why would you do that? That's totally a, oh, I did the right input, you fucked up Mario moment. Oh, I definitely did not do the right input because I forgot about that extra stump. Oh, I miss good dungeon design. I missed it so much. I like some of those Breath of the Wild dungeons, but oh boy. They are too few and far between, and they end in really, really, really bad bosses. Oh, speaking of... Oh, wait. Hold on. Gotta get Karn's platter. And then we can speak of ending in really bad bosses. Nothing on this side. Nope, we're in the clear. Just gotta get us some gold, and then up and away we go. Yeah, this is Gharn. Oh, look out, it's Gharn. Gharn is like an infested, larger construct. He's flaccid. Makes me flaccid. There is no build up to him. He is not particularly memorable in any way. And this fight is pretty fucking boring. So you get to him the first time, and you go, oh, okay, I guess it was alright for a mini-boss. Then you finish the dungeon a few minutes after you beat him, and it's like, wait, did I accidentally skip the real boss? He definitely makes you pine for Tiamat. And he doesn't require any kind of thinking or mastery or even use over the skills and mechanics that you've honed in this very dungeon, aside from just a little bit more combat. And we get a legendary, I think there's our gauntlets from him. Type of sub-weapon we have yet to see. We'll see that next time, probably. Actually, I think those require level 5, so maybe towards the end of the next episode. Definitely by episode 5, though. Also, the other thing about Gharn is that he pops out of this dead end. So, whatever mason built the dungeon just sealed him in behind the bricks. He just sealed him in, and he was waiting there forever until death showed up. As a flaccid end to the game's very first dungeon. Everything else makes such a good impression that it's not like... it doesn't destroy your impression of the game, but... whew, not great. Not great, that was. I thought I missed one of those. Oh, I don't have that yet. Never mind. I'm thinking a little bit ahead. Anyway, this lever is the last thing that we are going to need to pull in order to complete the dungeon. Hey, there it is. We don't get to hear that chime nearly enough in Darksiders 2, that puzzle completion noise. It's like Pavlovian, how it trains you to feel immediately good after hearing that noise. Oh man, like, they condition you. And right around here is a shortcut leading, I believe, right back to the beginning. Not before we can jump down this and get that token. Yeah, and good. You don't have to be right precisely on it. It will, sort of drift you a little bit. We just pick... hey, better scythe. Ooh, debatably decent scythe. Lower base damage was coated in frost. Oh, we got a bunch of gauntlet weapons. We got the rares, and then the Dark Avenger. Interesting. There's the gauntlet moveset. Very, very fast. And you can do some cool stuff. Plus, I love how both of the hands are hooks. And here's our shortcut back to the beginning. So I think we're going to get out here, give Karn his platter, and then cap things off for the day.
The mountain has a voice. How did you... No, doesn't matter. You have done what I failed to do. You must take the good news to Alya as soon as you can.
What is Mordant due?
Mordant dew is the venom those stingers get you with, if you let them too close. You'll find them in Drenchfort. Walk softly, though. Those stings are nasty.
I found that dish you wanted.
You're a good man. Much more so than your name would imply. I'm in your debt.
All right, that's going to do it for now. Thanks for watching, everyone. Take it easy. Have a good one.